Hello, everyone, and good afternoon or good morning whenever you're watching this video. Last time I said I would film a video about what my experience is like with hemiplegia, and this is the follow-up video to that episode. So, got my script right here. This video will be about my own hemiplegia experience. It's like any condition, it affects people differently, and not everyone's going to have the same experience as me, but this is kind of my own insight and experience. Okay, what hemiplegia is, if you don't know, is it's a condition where one of your limbs has limited use. Normally it's a limb, sometimes it's one part of your body. For me, it's my left side of my body, but it's mostly in like my arm and my leg. And so, but it affects different people differently. Sometimes it's just one small part of the body. Sometimes it's like me, the whole side. Sometimes it's your whole body, even. That's technically or all your limbs. That's technically hemiplegia. So, that's kind of a rundown. I got my hemiplegia when I was born. It came from a stroke when I was born. They are a lot better at diagnosing this. Sometimes it does happen, but now they're a lot better with technology and ultrasound. So they're able to better diagnose, and I don't think there's a lot of preventive stuff you can do, but I know there's a lot of post-treatment stuff you can do to kind of help alleviate it a little better. But I don't know, I'm only talking from my experience. So I'll give you guys sort of an insight to what hemiplegia is like. What's different for me? There's a lot of rigidity in my limbs sometimes. Sometimes, if I can see, if I do something like this, there's a lot of popping in the joints and stuff like that. Just tend to tighten up, like muscles can tighten up, your joints can tighten up a little bit. So you have to kind of be aware of that. And for me, so I have to kind of be mindful of how my arm's positioned or how my body's positioned, how long I'm in a position. And so for me, always stretching helps, and I've started working out, so that helps a lot with being a little looser. Some of it you can't help, but a lot of it you can kind of make things a little easier with things like stretching and exercise and stuff like that. So for me, that part at least is good. I have very limited wrist rotation, so I'll show you my right wrist. I can turn this wrist like if I'm opening a door. That works fine. This one, my left one, doesn't have full rotation. It can get about half, but like I said, I'm a little stiff because I hadn't worked out today, but it can get about half if I've stretched out and stuff like that. So limited wrist rotation. So things like opening doors and stuff like that doesn't really come natural to me. I have to kind of shift things around, but change things up, but more on that in a second. So like I said, I have to make a lot of adaptations for everyday situations. So things like someone else wouldn't think about, like playing video games, and especially controller-based games, because I have to sort of at times modify how I hold the controller. So sometimes I'll have like instead of my thumb, I'll use my index finger for a joystick, or sometimes I'll extend my reach between two buttons and a joystick, or two buttons that I need to push. So if you think about it like playing a piano, I will stretch my fingers to reach the buttons like you would stretch your finger across when you're playing a keyboard or a piano. Actually, one of the first systems I had was a Game Gear, and so that was a huge screen, so I had to really stretch across my fingers and have these two fingers kind of towards the end, pressing the A and B buttons and the start button, and I had this button for this finger for start, and so that, as far as like stretching, that's probably one of the tougher portable systems I have. But now I have a 3DS, and it's a lot slimmer screen. It's a smaller screen. It's a lot easier reach if I have to do that. And I've gotten a little better, so I can kind of, like I said, I use my pointer finger in my left hand for the joystick sometimes, and I use pointer finger a lot, especially because for me, like, I don't hold the controller in one hand, just move the finger. For me, like, it's hold the controller, and then I'll shift my hand and use the same finger. So if I need the pointer for a joystick, and then I'll use a pointer for the trigger, or I'll kind of switch around my hands and use these two fingers for like the triggers and stuff like that on a controller. So it's a little different than your average controller, and luckily there's things like modified controllers and button mapping now, so that makes playing games a little easier. Whenever like a lot of people do sort of buffet style at their house, and they kind of make an assembly line of their plates. For me, I always have to kind of have a place to put my plate, because I have to, like, it's a lot harder to scoop things out and accurately like dump it into the plate. So I have to put the plate down and then sort of serve the dish, and then to myself, and then put it on the plate, pick it up, and then go to the next station. So there tends to be I tend to try to go last at like things like that, and so that, I can get whatever I want, and then no one's behind me and stuff like that. But if they insist, I'll go ahead, and most of the time people understand, and they're nice when they have you over to their house, and they'll wait. But like I said, I tend to try to go either last or like very first before people have gotten there, so I can kind of go through, do my thing, and then sit down and stuff like that. Oh, and like, I can carry drinks in like my elbow right here, but a lot of times I'll put the plate down, and then I'll go back and get a drink, or or I'll ask somebody to get a drink for me. I'd like people to know that just because someone is born with either a disability or some type of condition that's different from the way a lot of other people are born, it doesn't mean that something is wrong with them or it's broken. It's just the way it is. I mean, it's just that we're all different, and people have different strengths and weaknesses, and for me, it just, everyone can see a condition that I have. There's not really a good word with a person with a disability. There's either disabled or handicapped, and none of those are like, I mean, there was a time when it accurately described the condition, but I think we've gotten better at describing what the condition is, and people are better at saying what it is now. So maybe that could be a challenge to revise vocabulary for all you grammarians out there. Maybe you can come up with a different word. But if those are the words we have, that's the words we have for now. Like I was saying, it's just for me, you can see it. And for someone else with other conditions, you can't see it. And it's just that we want to be seen as people and not as conditions. We don't want to be known as just the person with condition X or condition Y. We don't want to be labeled. Like if you wore glasses, I wear glasses normally, but I'm not wearing them now. But if you wear glasses, you wouldn't want to be known as the person who wears glasses. I mean, you want to be seen for who you are and not what your condition or what your state of being is. Another thing that I'd like to talk about is I'm fine with people asking if I need help, but sometimes I'll say no because I think I can do it myself, or I think it's easy. I've got this. I'm perfectly capable of doing it. I want to just ask that people would respect that decision, or respect my ability to make that decision, and sort of not insist on helping me. Most people are totally cool with that and they'll back off, but then there's the small percentage that forces their help on people, and don't do that. Just respect my decision, and even if something drops or something bad happens or you think something bad's going to happen, just let it happen. I mean, those are choices, and that's part of the freedom of choice. You have to let people make their own choice, even if you think it's a bad one. You can't force your goodwill on other people, no matter how much you want to or how much you think you should. So that's kind of a summary of what it's like living with hemiplegia. Hope you learned something, and hope you like this video. Please feel free to comment if you have any questions, or would like to say something, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.